Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Hello and welcome to another great episode of the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar.
This week we seek to answer one question. Should forced evictions be mandatory in order to ensure that African cities are well planned for growth and development?
And since it is the Nationals, we bring you the top cream of debate in this country. The two giants who face off in this episode will be Alliance and Maryhill High School. The first proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Raymond Gashungi from the Alliance High School, and today I stand before you to propose the motion that states that forced evictions are necessary in African cities for planned growth and development. First of all, let's try and get an idea of what exactly we mean by the term forced evictions. Well, this is the act of compelling a person or a group of persons to exit an area or to vacate it, especially when one has the legal right to do so. But what exactly do we mean when we say legal right? But let's talk about a few local examples. We have Syokimau and Runda in the past few years to pave way for the construction of the standard gauge railway and for the construction of the northern bypass. So for many years, the Western countries, the powers that be, have viewed Africa as the dark continent. Poor, squalid, replete in filth, always in armed conflict. Obviously, this means that we need to improve their perceptions of us. We need to bring our cities up to international levels so that we can compete with them favorably. But how exactly will we go about this? We need to implement world-class systems, world-class roads, world-class railways, sustainable power sources. But to get to this point, some people need to bite the bullet. So what do we need to do? These people who will be affected by these programs, these people who live, work, or whatever, where these programs are going to go up, we need to relocate them to other places. We need to give them proper compensation. We need to cater for them. Take the example of during the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa. People were evicted from the Soweto slum. But these people were squatters in the first place. Look at the bigger picture. South Africa spent 22 billion rand on construction of the railway and on improvement of the infrastructure for the World Cup. But they gained 93 billion rand from the same, leading to a 1% growth in their GDP. I think that's a worthy thing. It's a well-acknowledged fact that in most cities, for them to develop, for them to progress forward, we need to evict some people. Let's go to the history books. Look at London. Between the 18th to 20th centuries, they underwent numerous slum clearances to pave way for their metropolitan railway network. Sure, some people were evicted, but look at the bigger picture. This railway is used to this day by millions of people, not just Londoners, people who go to London to work, to play, leisure, whatever. Everyone uses this railway, and it's a hallmark of it. It's known for its efficiency. This is where we need to go as Africa. This is where we need to go as Kenya. We need to emulate it. Look at our standard gauge railway. It's what we're aiming for, isn't it? Forced evictions improve the law. They boost the legal system in whichever country. These pieces of land which were acquired by false means, false pretenses. Let's look at Syokimau. Those people are squatters. That land was acquired through illegal means. It was demarcated for use for the standard gauge railway. These people, when you evict them, you're improving the law system in the country. So what am I saying in a nutshell? Is it the chosen few that we need to protect, or is it purpose for the greater good? Thank you.
The opposing team, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Sibyl Nkandutie from the Maryhill Girls High School. And the definition of to evict means to force. And when we add forced eviction, we are implying nothing less than violence. What does this violence breed? Suffering, displacement of people, destruction of property, and even the loss of life. And we're talking about compensation. Compensation does not come by the next day. It takes a period of time. For this time, the people are suffering. They're living in the streets because they have nowhere else to go. And even if I am compensated and given just a few shillings, it will not measure up to the amount of money that I lost, or that I had worked for. I had spent sleepless nights to build this specific house, but it's all torn down in one day because of some development projects. If you look at these development projects, some of them do not even measure up to the kind of suffering we subject these people to. I'll give an example of a city in Nigeria known as the capital of Rivers State, where people, thousands, were evicted to create room for, guess what, a cinema that is supposed to only benefit the few who can afford it. What about these thousands of people do not get any compensation? This is from the www.theguardian.com in case you need to Google. What is even more amusing that I fail to understand is where we interfere with residential areas of these people to bring about this planned development and growth. Did you even know that 64% of Kenya is unexploited? Why don't we go to these lands, reclaim this land, and make good use of these lands? I'll give an example of what our country has done right now. As we speak, there's geothermal exploitation in the Menengai crater. But have you had any reports of any single person who has been evicted from some sort of city to create room for this development project? Yet we can see it is actually promising in the country's economy in the future. Isn't it a development project? It is. Have there been evictions? No. We should develop other areas for the sake of these people to move there. It's not by coincidence they're all congested in these cities. It is because of the opportunities that they find. Why not create these opportunities in their places to prevent them from moving? Why? Eviction is not necessary. Think about it.
We'll now hear rebuttals from both teams, beginning with the proposers. You have 3 minutes.
Greetings. My name is Sean from the Alliance High School. First of all, I'd begin by asking you a question. Opportunities in cities, yes, they're there. But must these opportunities be found in shanties? Must they be found in slums? We can rebuild them, we can force them out, then put them back in. We're not getting rid of the opportunities. We're just saying, please move out, let's develop this, give better opportunities. Number 2. Geothermal power is fully based on availability of land. If this land has steam under it, it will be available for geothermal power. I can't make up geothermal power in Nairobi, can I? Number 3, why should we start from scratch when you already have something, when you already have a base? Why should we go to the 64% of Kenya that has not been worked on and leave this other percentage which already is there but is not good enough? You have half a loaf, you're adding half a loaf, and then you can't join them together. Buy a full loaf, buy another full loaf, buy another full loaf, then you'll be full. Onwards to my point. Africa is undergoing rapid urbanization of 3.5% compared to China's 2.3%, which is the closest one so far. And urbanization means rapid growth of places. Slums will grow from everywhere since people are looking for jobs. And the government needs a means to control this. How do we control them? Master plans have been made. Kigali City, Hope City in Ghana, Tatu City in Kenya. Master plans which clearly design places. This is a residential area, this is an industrial area. Live here, live there. If they're separate from each other, you know what that means? No diseases caused by industrial effects, no complaints, no World Health Organization coming to us telling us that we're abusing our workers. We need to create these places. We need to forcefully move this out, these people, because they won't move what they want. And by the way, my dear opposers, forced evictions does not necessarily mean force. In 2010, no one was killed in South Africa. Forced evictions just means, yes, you do not want to move, but we have to move you out. We shall not kill you. We shall just tell you, this is according to the law, please move out. Whether you like it or not, that's an ultimatum. Forced evictions will create cities without slums in the long run. Mike Davis defined Africa as a nation showcasing a city of slums with decay and prevailing revolution. Let me tell you something. What is that? A city of slums. But with master plans, when we evict these people from the slums, when we evict people from Kibera and move them to other places, rebuild Kibera and then move them back in if they want it, since it's so valuable to them, we will be creating cities without slums. Imagine that. A city without slums. Good housing, beautiful water, beautiful cities, good lighting. Let's give our people this. Let's be Africans. Let's treat ourselves to something for once. Thank you.
Opposers, you have 3 minutes for a rebuttal.
My name is Frida Morugi Onduso from the Maryhill Girls High School. You know, the proposals have spoken with an arrogance that rather amused me than annoyed me, I must confess. You have talked about Syokimau people having settled there illegally. Are you aware that there's a case right now in the government that these people had title deeds that had the stamp from the government, and yet they were illegally evicted? Are you aware of that? Again, you've talked about force being when people say, please move from this place and all that. Now, let me ask you. In Ghana, Accra, people were removed from the place where they were staying near the railway and they were evicted to another place with no plans of compensation. Where does the please come in? In South Africa, you've said that it is actually beneficiary to the country, right? Now, I want to put across this point that in South Africa, those people who are evicted for that arena to be built, right now they're outside the city and they're living in tin can towns and camps. Tin and can. You get it? You've watched grown-up men shedding tears. Every day you hear that the government wanted to come up with a certain plan and therefore people had to be evicted. You've watched people get their rights being violated just because some few individuals wanted to benefit. Again, I want to ask the proposers, just, my friends, teach me the trick that you use so as not to hear the cries of the angry. Now show me the wax that you use to seal your eyes so that you do not see those people who walk around cities after demolitions of their property with empty looks on their faces. Now you tell us, if people get title deeds from the government, and the next day the government realizes that they need, the government realizes that, oh my God, we needed that land there. And yes, people, you have to move because the government wants to build a plan so that you can get employment. Yes, they get employment, but where do these people go to after that? The second proposer talked about, tried to insinuate that the opposing side is against development. We are not against development. Actually, we are for development, as long as that development is built for and around people, not profits. Come to think of it, you watch people being evicted, and then the next day, you're told to come, people, come one, come all, and watch a movie, maybe Love in London, because people were evicted and then a cinema was put up. Does that really make sense? I want the opposer to, I dare the proposers to come and tell us of a case whereby people were evicted and taken to another land, and then life went back to normal. I want to leave you with this, that a fool's worst enemy is himself. Know your rights. Let's go fishing, said the angler to the worm. Thank you.
Kijania Mpesa daima mimi Mkenya mwananchi wa Mpesa.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
I'm Rachel Njeri from Kahuya Girls, and I'd like to take my questions to Alliance that you say that you're doing this to develop the country, it's good for the country and all that, but this is for the government, right? The government is for the people and by the people. You should think in a way that it will help those people, but just evicting them and telling them to get out so that you can build better houses, wouldn't that create a lot of riots, there won't be any peace in their country because people will just be out there rioting for their rights. And you can they were living in slums and shanties. How have you helped them in this land that is not occupied out there? So how are you helping the nation? You're going to create a lot of conflict. Thank you.
And now for the opposers.
Jessica Mwangi from Our Lady of Mercy Secondary School. My question is to the opposers. I think we shouldn't be afraid of the unknown. So would you rather have Kenya remain as a third world country or move on and develop? Thank you.
We can have the third proposer respond.
Greetings to all of you. My name is Kenneth Kirumba from The Alliance High School. Wanjeri, I will answer your question with another question. Have you seen the smiles of the people in Langata after they were built for new slums? No rioting, no deaths. They were built for new apartments, sorry. No rioting, no deaths. Everyone is happy. There's electricity, there's piped water. What more could you ask for? I'll give you an example of Singapore. What Singapore did was it built around the slums, relocated those people to those buildings, then built where the slums were. That is where we really want to go. Forced evictions would pave the way to build eco-cities. Overcrowded, overrun buildings would have to be demolished, and architectural marvels would be made that not only don't waste energy, but they are efficient, and some, like where we are standing now. Did you know that Strathmore not only produces its own electricity, but it sells some to the Kenya Power Limited through their solar panels? I don't think you knew that. So this is where we want to go as a country. This is what we want to do, to bring development to the people. These issues about that the poor will not have, they will not be included after these evictions is purely a lie. What will happen afterwards? There will be recreational facilities made, parks that will be open for all. And it doesn't provide enjoyment only, but also employment. People will have jobs. So the question is, do we want a few people to continue living in the mess that they're living? Or do you want growth for not only investors, foreign investors, and the people who are living inside? Thank you.
We'll now have the third opposer. You may respond to the audience.
The first question was on development. Let me give a short analogy of an egg. Look at an egg. If you exert force from outside, what happens to the egg? It breaks. But force from within, there is life. We are not against development. We are saying, do not evict these people. Assist them. Help them. He just said that he just passed by the Kibera slums. He saw children who do not know the meaning of education. Evicting them will not solve the problem. It will create another one. Assist them. Get them proper housing. The assumption that development and the rights of the poor to adequate land and housing are in conflict, it is a dangerous myth. It is a myth that tends to be sustained when decision-making is undertaken in a top-down and authoritarian manner by planning elites in government and international institutions. Take, for instance, if we relocate the people who are living in Kibera and take them to God knows where, then we put up an industry. Are we really thinking about these people? What they are going through? When we lose our judgment, at least let's retain our human hearts. Think about these people. They are going through so much suffering, so much pain. They are left destitute, homeless. They go to the street. Think about it. It's really painful to evict someone from a place they have lived for so long. And you do not even offer a solution to where they should go thereafter. Really? Let's be human. Thank you.
The question in this particular debate is, or the most important thing is, if you build a case, ensure that you pursue it to a logical conclusion. Don't start something, and then you reach midway, you drop it. You will not win a debate in such manner. Allow me to talk to Alliance boys because it featured a lot in the course of your presentation, beginning with Raymond, that we should do forced eviction because it will lead to the building of world-class roads and railway lines. My question is, to what end? Of course, the audience may know why, but I expect it to come from you, that the reason why we want world-class roads is not basically for prestige purposes, but it's for development. The same applies to Sean. I think you're a good debater. You raised a couple of issues, which I agree with. And you raised the issue of it will create cities without slums. And the question is, how many people can afford those particular houses that are built? And that's when Kenneth came in with the issue of houses built at Langata. and that people have moved into those particular houses. And I think one of you made mention that you've been to Kibera, and I think you've not been to Kibera. Those people who have moved into those particular houses, are they the residents of Kibera slum, or they have come from elsewhere to occupy those particular houses? Because the residents of Kibera cannot afford those particular houses. When building a case, we want you to perfect your examples, try to sharpen your debating skills. So to the boys, it was a fairly good presentation. Not really fairly good, I'll say fair, in the sense that it was not a case that was built and then followed up.
If there was a way that you defined growth and development for us, apart from just infrastructure and all, then we would have understood you more. Maryhill, girls, you never disappoint. Mukandutie, I love your name. Good. You're very confident as well, and you start us off well as a fast speaker. Frida, the same way, convincing, you're very energetic and engaging. I mean, you capture our attention.
One of the things that I did not hear from the two teams is what is the mark of growth and development? You know, and the moment that you're able to then demystify that, then it makes it a lot easier for you to convince, either to propose or oppose the motion. When you talk about African cities, for us in Africa, is the mark of development and growth railway lines and world-class roads. By whose standards? In a continent that, you know, we're still trying to ensure that every child has access to medical care, every child has access to education. In a continent where, you know, we are grappling with Ebola right now. You know, so when you talk about development and growth in Africa, by whose standards are we gauging what is development and what is growth? My last question is, forced evictions by who? Okay, is it by government? Is it by private developers? And all these questions, you know, are things that we need to consider if we are to debate the motion appropriately. But all the best to the two teams.
Lions High garnered 67.4%. Give them a hand. And the ladies from Maryhill had 74, making them our winners.
Well, we still know that it's still a numbers game, so not all is lost. And from us at the Great Debaters Contest, I am your host, Austin Nyombok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.